After 8 months, if the same thing comes in with a big $10 million paycheck, it starts to read better and funnier.
You have to unbrand yourself from who you've been to get to who you want to be.
Whenever life would start getting good for me, God would throw a nice anchor and stop me right there.
Rise and shine!
It's Entspresso time!
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I am not a morning person, but when you start your day with an inspiring morning routine that gets you going, like maybe watch one of these videos, it will change your life. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee, know that I believe in you, and get ready for a shot of Entspresso from Matthew McConaughey.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Starting with Lincoln Lawyer was a time when I said I wanted to recalibrate my relationship with my career. I remember saying that. I remember thinking my career's, I'm enjoying it. I love what it's given me. I like going to work. I like the things I've been doing. But everything I started reading, I felt like, it's another version of something I've done, or I feel like I could do it next week. And I remember going, well, wait a minute, before you get mad at thinking you could do something next week, that's a valid feeling. Don't just say no to something because you feel like you can naturally do it. But then I said, okay, fair. I'll shake with you on that, McConaughey, but let me find something that I don't know what to do with that next week or the week after. Let me find something that I really like, but I'm going, I'm not sure. That scares me, that shakes my floor. And I was fortunate enough, because that Schedule F check I got in Angels in the Outfield, to know that my rent was paid. I was fortunate enough to know my kids were going to eat. I was just shepherding my first son into the world. So I had that to take care of my time. And I said, it's a great time to go into the shadows and be a father and sit back and see if something turns you on from the inside or if something finds you, if you're the target that can draw the air. But we're okay. Rent's paid, kids are going to eat, we can take some time off. I know he was thinking about like, oh, I'm done, but I didn't know how long the dry spell was going to go. So I said no to some of the things that were similar to what I had been doing before. And it took a while. I had to sit down with my agent and say, hey, I'm really going to do this, and I need your help with my commitment to this, because after 8 months, if the same thing comes in with a big $10 million paycheck, it starts to read better and funnier. I promise you, the same words. All of a sudden, I think this thing's great. I think I can find an angle. No, I can make it a different experience for me. So I said, I'm going to need your help bunkering down here and saying no to some things. And so I'm going to need you to be a gatekeeper, one, to keep them from getting to me, two, but let's be real clear. I'm looking for some different things to do. He handled that. My wife, we said we don't know how long it's going to be dry. Then after they quit sending those, then it did get dry. Then nothing came for about a year. Wow. There was nothing. And I didn't have any sleepless nights or, oh my gosh. I was like, no, I'll find something. I'll write. I was writing a lot. I was turning myself on creatively. And as I said, I had my first son to shepherd into the world. And then the funny thing happened, the beautiful thing happened, that somehow the target drew the arrow. And I think, my opinion is, I became a new good idea by removing myself. I became, William Friedkin calls for the first time, Steven Soderbergh calls for the first time. Somehow in that 2 years, I became a fresh new idea that I don't think I was 2-3 years prior. How that works, I'm not sure, because I didn't send a memo out.
You have to unbrand yourself from who you've been to get to who you want to be. A lot of people may know you for something, right? They may know you for something. They know you for being this kind of person, being the person who does X, Y, Z, but maybe you don't like that anymore. Maybe you don't want to be that person anymore. And it might require you to unbrand yourself, that you are no longer this person, in order for them to start seeing you as this new person that you want to be. This is a tangent that just came to mind, but this is why a lot of people, kids, have a hard time influencing their parents. Even as adults, as you are an adult, as you grow up and become an adult, you realize, oh, your parents didn't actually have everything figured out. They're not the superheroes you thought they were. They loved you, but a lot of times they're just doing the best that they could. But most parents do not want to listen to their kids for advice for what to do next, because you've been branded as the kid. not as the person who gives advice. That's why they don't listen to you. It's why it's really hard to influence your siblings too, because especially if you're the younger sibling, you've been branded as the little brother, the little daughter, or the little sister. You're not the one that they listen to for advice. You have to unbrand yourself from that. So when I was talking to Matthew about this on my interview, we'll link that up at the end of this video. He talked about this long unbranding phase that he went through, where he stopped doing romantic comedies, where he got offered millions and millions and millions of dollars to keep doing romantic comedies, but he just didn't want to be that guy anymore. He did not want to be that guy anymore. And so he turned down every single movie deal for 20 months. For 20 months. Considered retiring, considered like acting isn't for him anymore. He's making, millions of dollars doing romantic comedies and just was tired of it, not going to do it anymore, and would go back and be a teacher. That was his backup plan. Until things changed. He successfully lost the branding as the romantic comedy guy, and he started getting other opportunities. And I think it starts as a self-identity thing. Who are you? Do you believe that you're still the son? Do you believe that you're still just the brother? Do you believe that you're still just XYZ of who you used to be? And maybe that was an identity that was given to you, not one that you ever even chose for yourself. It starts with the personal unbranding. So for me, I used to have a website. People knew me from my website. I had a website. I was heavily into SEO, search engine optimization. We had 100,000 plus pages of content. I had thousands, I don't know how many thousands, 6,000, 8,000, something like that, people writing for my website. I was really good at getting articles to rank. And I was telling my story and famous stories. And I just got tired of it. I don't know, it just seemed to be a publishing game. There seemed to be less heart in the content we're making. And it just seemed to be about ranking content as opposed to actually doing something. So I got a little bored of that, and I started experimenting with YouTube. That's the start of my YouTube career. I mean, I just started experimenting, just throwing out some videos. They weren't fantastic, but it was just an experiment, a test. And I liked it so much that I had to find a way to keep doing it. And I remember the day that I shut down my website. I didn't want to sell it because it was off my name, and I didn't want to sell ivancarmichael.com. So I decided to close it down, and I shifted my team. The people who are on my team who are doing the work for me, I gave them roles in the YouTube side of my business that was starting to take off. So nobody, got laid off or fired. They can keep working for me in a new capacity. And it took a while for the people who were successful authors. Some of the authors on my site had posted hundreds of articles. I was driving a lot of business for them, and we shifted it. It wasn't just like a shutdown right away, but we phased it in. Maybe it took a couple of months for the whole thing to happen. And I was known as the article guy. It's funny because it's been over 10 years since that. And now I'm known as the YouTube guy, or the Believe guy. I actually like Believe better because Believe could be anything. YouTube is too specific to just one platform. But being known as the Believe guy, there's this great video where Grant Cardone on his Christmas Day, he's filming Christmas days. He's doing an IG story of him opening up, or his daughter opening up a present or something, or they walked into a hotel room. I forget what it was, but there was Believe there. And he said, "Believe, you see that, Evan Carmichael? Believe." And he tagged me in the story. It's like, yeah, I'm definitely down with being known as the Believe guy. But that became a conscious unbranding, rebranding phase where I don't want to just be the article guy. I don't want to be known as the guy who can get your content ranked in SEO. And it's funny now, every now and then I connect with an old author. Like I connect with somebody who was on my site, who knew me back in those days. It's like, yeah, I used to post content on your on your website. I wrote articles for your website. That was fun. And it's like, yeah, that was such a long time ago. I don't really think about those days much anymore. It's how quickly I've unbranded myself from my own identity. And so I think it's really important. I think a lot of times we're given these labels. We're given labels. And because we're given the labels, we feel we have to live up to those labels. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, your family, they put labels on you that you have to be this person. and we feel forced to be this person, even though we don't want to be this person. We're fighting against the person. We feel bad or guilty, or it becomes our identity, and we don't like it. Now you've taken on these labels, and it's your identity, and so we try to stay consistent with our identity, but we don't like this thing about us. We don't want that to be our identity. So that's the unbranding for yourself first, to say, I don't want to be this person anymore. When did I accept this label? When did I say that was okay? Maybe it happened to you as a child, and so you don't have much of a choice, but now you're an adult, you get to pick. Like, maybe I don't want to have this label anymore. Maybe I don't accept this label that you put on me anymore. I don't want to be that person. And it starts with you deciding that you don't want to be that person. Because nobody else is going to buy it yet, right? If people are used to putting that label on you, here's what a good son does, or a good sister does, or whatever. If that's the label that they put on you and you've accepted it, and then you haven't fully owned the new branding, the new label, there's no way they're going to. They're going to keep repeating the old patterns. Until I shut down the website and focused on YouTube, the authors on my website kept thinking of me as the author guy who now doesn't have a website. And I started my rebranding phase. I still think it's a challenge worthy of you taking on, to think about whose labels or models have you accepted that doesn't serve you. If it serves you, great, keep doing it. But if it doesn't serve you, when did you accept that label? And when is it time to change? And hopefully it's now. Because ultimately, you're only going to be happy living your version of your life, not somebody else's. That process starts today. Now I've got a really special bonus cup that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the sign says you have a 35% chance of actually doing something. And that's terrible. I want you to get to a greater number. When you actually create a plan, you get motivated, you have a plan, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you have a plan, you get motivated, a plan, and you commit to somebody else, you have a 95% chance of following through. So I want to celebrate you. I want to know your single biggest takeaway, and write down in the comments below your plan of action for the next week so you can follow through and we can celebrate with you too. Also, if you want to have more self-love and self-belief, check out my 254 series. The sign says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. So if you want to build your self-belief, I've designed a free program where I will send you a video every day for free. The link to join is in the description below.
My call time is at 7. Then you back your clock up 4 hours, and then that's when I get up.
The way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself.
Whenever life would start getting good for me, God would throw a nice anchor and stop me right there. So I'm going through pararescue training, and there's this evolution called water confidence. And water confidence is pretty much what gets people kicked out of special forces, special operations, is the water. And they try to drown you, pretty much. This was not in the warning order, so I didn't know anything about water confidence. Long story short, what it is they put 16-pound weight belts on you, whatever they can do to make you uncomfortable in the water. So for 6 weeks of a 10-week program, I became very uncomfortable. We got down to about 25, 30 guys left. I was one of them. And getting near graduation of this program, I'm thinking, my God, I'm about to get through this. Barely, though. Water confidence is killing me.
Right.
They took me to medical. They drew my blood and realized I have sickle cell.
Yeah.
So sickle cell is a blood disease that some African Americans have, which is not good.
No.
So they took me out training for a week. And when you go from being uncomfortable, that's your lifestyle, you get used to being uncomfortable.
Right.
When you go back to being comfortable, your mind says, I don't want to go back to being uncomfortable again.
That's right.
So I was like, I don't want to go back to the water. So my whole mindset was, I want to get out of this training. So I was hoping that they were going to medically disqualify me from pararescue program. That didn't happen. A week later, the doc called me in the office and said, hey, guess what, man? We're going to put you back into training. I was like, okay, well, I missed a week. I got about 2.5 weeks left. I can do this. I went back to the, to the CEO, the commanding officer. He said, hey, guess what? We're going to start you back from day one. And when he said that to me, my mind went back to the old David Goggins. So I thought I had changed.
Yeah.
Learning how to swim, learning how to read and write. All I was doing was attacking the surface. I wasn't getting down into the dungeon of what was really bothering me. So whenever like tough times would happen, any tough time that would, like really tough time that would happen, I would go back to the sewer of my mind. So this happened. I went back to lying. I said, hey, you know what, CEO? This guy, you know, the doc didn't know about sickle cell. He didn't give me a good reason why. He's talking about sudden death, heart attack, stroke. I'm not comfortable. So he gave me a medical from pararescue. So he allowed me to leave. But I really quit. I didn't want to go back in the water again.
Right.
And that's when I went from weighing 175 pounds to 297 in about 3.5 years.
Wow.
So I did a job called TAC-P, controlling fast movers behind enemy lines. But that job wasn't a job that I wanted. And the spiral of depression, of trying to find things that I was comfortable doing. And whenever you find things that you're comfortable doing, you're going away from the journey of life. And I was going so far away from my journey that my weight showed my whole mindset.
If you want to see my recent one-on-one with Matthew McConaughey, check out my interview right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Sometimes it's not about what decision you make, just make one and commit to it. Self-determination and fate, intentionality and trust. I mean, it's always a balance of those two.